Hey, hey, hey! So today is a very special video. I don't know if y'all know it or not, but if you don't know, what you don't know is that Hocus Pocus 2 came out today, and I just finished watching it, and okay, I'm gonna give you my straight up reaction to it because this is not like a review. This is my reaction to the movie, okay? I did watch the first one before I watched the second one. When the first one is just, it's such a classic. Like, I think the time when it was filmed, the actresses were, I don't want to say in like peak physical condition, but I feel like they were all young enough that they could portray the young part of it. And I'm trying to say this without like possibly offending people. I think they were all, well, they were younger than they were in Hocus Pocus 2. It was just like magic happened. Sometimes that happens with movies and with TV shows. The stars just align, everything comes together, and you have really good movie, really good show, and it's just a hit and all that stuff. The second one, my initial reaction is, what the fuck did I just watch? What was that? What was that ending? What was that? The second one, okay, and it's not that I don't have a comment, it's that I have so many comments running through my head right now that I'm trying to pick one to say, and I don't know if I want to do spoilers. I probably will because I'll talk about it. When the Sanderson sisters get brought back in the second one, they start singing this song. And at first I'm sitting here, like when it first started, I thought, oh, good gravy, they made it into a musical. Like they added more songs. They did sing in the first one, but it was not like a musical song. You know what I mean? It was like, if you're just at home kind of singing with your family, kind of making things up, or, I would say with them, singing spells and stuff and whatnot. The other, and I was thankful because like it started out that way, and I'm just thinking, oh goodness, that's what this movie's gonna be. But thankfully, I can happily report that it's not the whole movie. There is the scene with the parents, with the adults, right, where they get trapped in an area and they dance until you die, right? I feel like the second movie kind of stuck to the pattern of the first movie. Obviously, the actresses are older. Obviously, what's her name? Mary, the actress that played Mary. She lost a lot of weight. I think she had gastric bypass done, and she lost an extreme amount of weight. So she, used to be heavier, and now she's thinner. But they're all older. They all definitely look a little older. I think it was definitely cool to see them, even though they are older than they were. I'm not going to say that they're old, because I don't know how old each one of them are. I think they're all at least 50, but it was just cool. It was cool. It was cool to see them kind of get together and do this movie again and see the interactions between them and see how well they were able to revive each of their characters, and see how well, after so many years, how well they were able to jump back into those roles and, get back into it. It was a little disappointing that there was not as many original actors from the first one brought into the second. I think They said the guy that played Billy Butcherson, the zombie dude, um, he was supposedly the same actor, but when I Googled it, Hocus Pocus cast, just for the first one, because I wanted to see like who played different things in the first one and then see if any of the original actors were in the second one. I didn't see any familiar names. And you can put that in the comments below if you know, and I'll look it up further because I am curious. Like besides the witches, it would have been cool to see other, like maybe you know the the little girl that was in the first one and her brother and then his brother's girlfriend, see them all grown up and maybe it was their kids that brought the witches back, and see them kind of not necessarily battle the witches but see their kids battle the witches again, just to kind of see that, to have the twist of the girl that brought them back to be witches, or the girls that brought them back, I should say. One of them is a witch. Like there were two girls that brought them back, but one of them is like a natural witch. I mean, the other two of her friends are played off as her coven, but you don't see them exhibit any natural powers the way that they show that she has. So that was interesting to me. I thought it was a little weird. I thought the ending was a little weird. I thought the whole movie was a little weird. I thought it was very kitsch. It was very cheesy. When the first movie came out, I was 8 years old. Or I would have turned 8 that year. And, I've been a fan of that movie. I've seen it so many times. I was playing it when Jason came home for lunch tonight, and the movie started. I started it while he was home, and I started just like almost word for word the script, exactly what they were going to say, like before they said it or right when they were going to say it, and say it with them. And it's kind of cool that you can be a fan of a movie so much that like the script, like what the characters are going to say, like you know the words by heart. And people have been looking forward to this movie for so long, and I didn't hate the movie. Out of 5 stars, I would give it 3. They did mention some things from the first movie, and they don't mention like, oh, last time we did this, last time we did that. Like there's little things like Amok is mentioned, or like Shishka Baby, or the whole vacuum thing from the first movie. That is played upon, and I feel like they modernized things from the first one. I think they did that very, very well. I feel like that was very well done, and it was interesting seeing them in more modern situations. Now that, in 1993, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have social media. We didn't have all of that stuff. So, or at least, it wasn't as popular. I don't remember my parents having a cell phone when I was 8 years old. My parents are always a little bit behind on stuff, on trends and things, but I don't remember them having anything like that. And we didn't have internet until I was like 13, 14 years old at home. So, it just wasn't as common. I really expected more. I really wanted more from the movie. The ending was horrendous. I honestly, like, part of the allure of Hocus Pocus and part of people's fandom with it and liking it is that typically you relate to one of the 3 witches. Either you're silly and funny and a little goofy like Mary, or maybe you're a little, and I don't get offended, but maybe you're a little prettier, a little bit more focused on your appearance, and maybe not as focused on your studies or focused on working up your intelligence as Sarah. Or maybe you are the ringleader of your friend group, and you are decisive, and you are power hungry, and you are protective, and you are keep wanting to say like the head bitch in charge, the HBIC, but that's not, it's not, I don't feel like that really defines her qualities. I mean, she's very clever. She thinks things through. She comes up with things. You know, Winifred is very serious. She's a lot more serious than the other two. Um, she thinks more of herself than what she actually is, in my opinion. Um, you know, I feel like you fall into one of the three categories, you know, and it was nice in the 1993 movie to see a big woman on screen. You know, I have to say, as a big woman myself, as a big person, it's nice to be represented. It's nice to feel represented. And Kathy Najimy is just so funny. She's just hilarious. But I did like in the second movie that it starts out when the Sanderson sisters are young, like before they were witches, and it shows you their life, and it shows you how they became witches and what drove them to that, and it puts them in a society that is very demanding of them. It reminded me a lot of Bridgerton because one of the things was that what's her name? Winnie was 16, and she was being told that she had to get married. Now, they lived in this house. I didn't see any parents. I don't remember any parents being mentioned. Okay. Any mom or any dad. And she was living with her two sisters. It was just the three of them. And the town reverend was demanding that he marry her, or was basically saying it was time for her to get married. And she was basically not having it, I think, as a lot of us would have been back then, although a lot of women weren't like that back then. A lot of women were too afraid to say that, either out of respect for their family, they didn't want to bring shame to their family, or out of duty. They felt like, you know, it was their duty to do this and you know, get married and produce children and all this stuff. You know, we watch shows like Bridgerton and you just think, like, hell no, like, you're going to tell me that I have to marry? You're going to set this up and you're going to basically pick a wife? No. But I think that's also, you know, in society, it's very common now. You meet somebody that you fall in love with and you together make the choice to get married. Arranged marriages do still happen, and it's not just Indian families, Indian parents that will do that with their children. I do believe that happens quite a bit, and I don't think, like, I do think that you can find a love match in an arranged marriage. You know, you could fall in love with the person that you're being pushed to marry, but I also think that being in love before you get married gives you a great start to that relationship. But you know, she's rebelling against that, and she's being forced and ostracized, and they're trying to separate her and her sisters, and then so they run into this forbidden forest, and you kind of get a glimpse, like, you almost feel bad for them. You're almost like, well, like, they didn't have a choice but to become witches, right? Like, they had, I'm like, as somebody who enjoys pettiness and vengeance and revenge, you know, you feel for them, and you're just like, no wonder. Like, it's like when you're watching a serial killer documentary, and like the new Dahmer series, and I haven't watched it, but I know things about him, and I know his parents didn't want him. They shipped him off to live with his grandma, and then his grandma didn't want him, and he obviously struggled so much, and that would kill you as a child, as a teen, as a young adult. I mean, that hurts. And so you can imagine being so angry at this town for forcing you to leave, for forcing you to go and live in this forbidden forest. You can understand their anger and their desire to punish them, or their anger to kill them, or their anger, you know, in all of that stuff. There were no talking animals in Hocus Pocus 2. There was a black cat. I thought that was cute, that they put a black cat in there, and they were saying that it was Thackeray Binks. Even the witches thought that it was Thackeray Binks, and I'm sitting here going, I think the witches would know that as soon as they died, that spell would be over. And I think, you know, the way that the first movie ended was with him like finally dying and going to be with his sister and the rest of his family. You know, while I think it would have been cool to bring the actors back, but maybe put them in a different role. You know, not necessarily the same roles, but have them at least like cameo in the movie. And maybe they did, and I missed it. I don't know. But my initial reaction is just, what the fuck did I just watch? That ending. Okay, I'm going to talk about the ending, and then I need to get off here because I'm getting all types of heated. In the end, okay, and I've put spoilers on this, so if you haven't seen the movie and you want to see it and you don't want spoilers, then of course I've spoiled a lot of stuff up until now, but like if you're okay with that and you just don't want to talk about it, you know, you don't want to know the ending, that's fine. You know, stop watching, go watch it. With having the book choose somebody else over Winifred, with having her shift positions, like in the beginning of the second movie, you see the background and you sympathize with them because she would do anything for her sisters. You know, they were going to lock her away. They were going to take her sisters and put them into like foster care, basically, put them into some other home and teach them straight, you know, get them straight. And she was like, no, like, these are my sisters. We're going to stay together. And in this movie, Winifred is so power hungry and she wants so much vengeance on the people of Salem that she doesn't think through her actions clearly. And she casts this power spell, which costs her the thing she loves the most, which is her sisters. And this happens. And her sisters like start to disintegrate, and then it's kind of like they hit the pause button on it. It's like you could see their hands, and like it was kind of, things were kind of disappearing, but not really. Like the graphics in this movie, I've seen better. I know that Disney can do better. I thought that it was very 80s B-rated B horror movie, you know, just very, very not great special effects. But then to have it in the end, you know, throughout the whole movie, she is this vengeful witch. And she, you know, is mean and she wants to kill people and she wants them so badly. And then abruptly at the end, you almost feel bad for her that she lost her sisters because she was only thinking about herself and she was being selfish. And then she realizes that her sisters are gone and that, you know, it's just her that's left, and the personality kind of flips, and she asks, you know, the kids that they were chasing, they were going to kill these kids. She asks this witch coven, this group of 3 girls, to help her get her sisters back. And for me, it was weird. I feel like that goes against Winifred Sanderson. I feel like she wouldn't do that. I feel like she does care about her sisters. And I you know, I feel like it is against her personality, but I felt like that was also very realistic. I think sometimes a lot of us, you know, you get too ambitious, you do too much, or you're willing to do whatever it takes to get something. And sometimes you don't realize that whatever it takes is time away from your family, or that you're going to be working extremely long hours, or, you know, I think sometimes we forget that you need to appreciate those around you, and you need to appreciate the people in your life while they're in your life, because you never know when they could be taken from you. And it, you know, it's cute and it's a nice ending because it has a moral to it and everything. I just kind of felt like, you know, for the Hocus Pocus, for the spooky theme, I felt like it was a little family sitcom-y for me. It was very, I was really not happy. I thought it was resolved okay, because then they cast a spell to basically, like, you know, reunite, you know, what's meant to be forever, or whatever she says. And she says the spell, and then they're looking around and her sisters don't come back. And Winifred's like, did you recite it correctly? And they were like, yeah, we did, but it's taking you to them. It's not bringing them back to you. And it's it ends in such a way that they can't be brought back again. I don't believe so. I think trying to figure out this word, the contrived nature of how they were brought back for this movie was a little much for me. The fact that this dude was like wanting to bring them back, and he saw everything in the first movie, and he, the book told him how to make a new black flame candle and all of this stuff. Like, I'm just sitting here. I have so many issues with this, and I don't know, maybe Jason and I, once he watches it, we will sit down and do like a review video of the movie. But my initial reaction, like, I expected so much more. It almost was a little cartoony in some areas. Like, the movie itself, I don't know if it was the actresses, the costumes, but like, it just almost felt a little cartoony. It felt very cheesy, very done before, and I didn't love it, you guys. That may be an unpopular opinion, I don't know. I did not love that movie. I didn't. Will I watch it again? Yeah, because Jason will watch it. I'll get him to watch it, and we'll do a review or something. But it was not what I expected. It was not what I expected. There were a lot of points in the movie where you're sitting here going, oh, okay, of course they do this, and then this is going to happen, and then boom, it would happen. And it was a little predictable for me. This is getting to be more like a review than a first impression, but my first, my initial, I did this whole look today, the orange and the purple, red, and then the green under my eyes, you can barely see, to watch this movie. And I feel like it is such a cult classic. A lot of people really love this movie. I feel like they didn't do it justice. I feel like they could have done better. You could have done so much better with that storyline. I feel like you could have done so many other things. I think one of the biggest issues is that one of the new little 3 female witches, the new Sanderson sisters, which is probably, if they continue on with it, there'll probably be another thing, is that they're witches too. Like, I didn't like that at all. I was like, if they would have tied them in to like make them be related to the Sanderson sisters, or I'm sorry, you guys, my nose is kind of running. Tie it into where they're, because there was the witch mother, if they were related to the witch mother, or if they were related in some way to the Sandersons. Like, I feel like you could have tied it together a little bit better, and I feel like it could have been so much better. Do better, Disney. Come on. People are watching you anyway because of other movies that you've put out that have controversial or questionable things in them. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that. I'm just saying that people are talking about it and people are watching you. And I feel like this was a poor move. Like, it was cool to see the witches again. It was kind of cool to see them in the more modern world and see how they reacted to things like phones and things like that. But I expected so much more. I just expected so much more from this franchise, and I don't know if y'all agree with me or not. Please let me know down in the comments below if you've seen the movie, what you thought about it, and whether you agree or disagree with me. I will do like a review video, probably with Jason, because we always have an interesting interaction between the two of us, and we think differently. We do. So, but anyways, like this video if you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, ring that bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video, because you never know what kind of content's going to pop up over here on this channel. I thank you so much for watching. I love y'all very, very much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!